when we had the big pullback, I bought some more shares. I bought about 6,000 shares.
Okay.
I wish I could buy. I wanted to sell my house to buy more.
You are listening to Mining Stock Education. I'm Bill Powers, reporting from the beautiful city of Vancouver. I'm here at the Sprott Natural Resource Symposium, and I have the opportunity to catch up with one of the key managers of one of our sponsors, Trilogy Metals. It's an excellent polymetallic developer in Alaska, the Ambler Mining District there in Alaska. I'm sitting down with Pat Donnelly. He's the Vice President of Corporate Communications and Development. Pat, thanks for joining me.
Thanks a lot, Bill.
Let's share with listeners a little bit about your background. Not only are companies interesting, but it's also interesting, especially for me as I get to interview a lot of people, learning about the individuals and why they chose this career path.
Sure.
How did you become this position with Trilogy?
It started a long time ago. My father, who was an immigrant to Canada from Ireland, worked as a miner. He was a heavy-duty mechanic, and also used to operate those really large shovels you see in open pit mining operations. So I come from a mining family, and I've always enjoyed the outdoors, always enjoyed mining, and ended up doing an undergrad degree in mineral exploration at the University of British Columbia. And after that, I spent about 10 years as a field geologist, looking for gold, lead, zinc, nickel, diamonds, throughout most of northern Canada, northern Ontario, the Timmins area, Yukon, and British Columbia. So I did that for about 10 years, and I was always fascinated by the industry. It's a really exciting business. A lot of characters, but it's just a fascinating business. And then after about over 10 years, I went back to school and did an MBA at the University of Toronto. And I went into picking stocks. I was a mining analyst for, I think, 5 or 6 years. I did that, and that was really fascinating because you get to go around the world and look at some really interesting projects. So everything I learned in Canada, and then my finance background allowed me to go around the world, look at really interesting projects, which I really enjoyed doing, and putting valuations on them, and picking stocks is really, really fun. I came back into industry in 2010. I worked for a copper developer in Botswana. They got acquired by a group called Cooper Canyon Capital. They're now developing the project as we speak. And then 2012, I ran into Rick Van Nieuwenhuizen, and at the time he just spun out Nova Copper, which is now Trilogy, and they needed someone to help them on the IR front. So I was originally with Trilogy / Nova Copper from 2012 to 2014.
So this is your second go-around.
This is my second go-around. It's like the Roseanne show, right? They bring it back. It was so I worked there, and then things slowed down considerably in 2014, and the company, decided to put things on ice for a little bit because of the market. So I left, worked on a couple other ventures, and then just over a year ago, Rick was looking for someone to help him out again. Things are really moving hard for Trilogy, and Rick and I are close friends. We have a good relationship, and I have the utmost respect and confidence for Rick. I mean, I think he's one of the best people in the business. He's been doing this for 40 years now.
And he's the president and CEO.
He's president, CEO, founder. He founded Nova Gold.
40 million ounce deposit in Alaska.
Yeah, at Donnelly. So, Rick knows what he's doing. He's Mr. Alaska. And so, so for me, it checks off a number of boxes. One, the leadership. Two, I really like Alaska a lot. It's a good place to work. Government's very, very supportive. Local peoples are very, very supportive. And then the quality of the asset is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the highest grade copper projects in the world. I'm very bullish on copper. I think copper fundamentals are outstanding.
Share your outlook, please, on copper.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways to look at it. We're going to see a significant supply deficit in the next couple of years, and we're just not producing enough of it. I don't think people realize that we use copper in everything. We couldn't have a modern society without copper. So, the average house is 200 pounds of copper. Average automobile is 50 pounds of copper. Cell phones, hair dryers, wash machines, infrastructure, everything we use requires copper. There's no substitutes. And the average copper mine now costs billions of dollars to develop. We're seeing grades go down. significantly, and supply is coming down. And right now the world produces about 25 million tons per year. And so we're just not producing enough. There's not many mines coming online. Most of the major mining companies are just trying to maintain production levels, and that's amid declining grades. So for example, Codelco, which is the largest mining company in the world, they're owned by the government of Chile. They produce about 10% of the global supply. They're having to put in $3 to $4 billion a year in sustaining capital just to maintain their current throughput production rates. Short term, we're dealing with, China is 50% of copper demand, so the trade war with the U.S. has dampened prices, so that's been a bit of an overhang. But going forward, I think fundamentals are outstanding. If you talk about electric vehicles and movement towards a carbon-free economy, we're going to need a lot more copper. We're going to need, like I said, global demand and supply are evenly matched. It's about 25 million tons per year. That's going to go up to 30, 40 million tons in the next 10 years or so. So we need a lot, average electric vehicle has 200 pounds of copper. So when we go into a carbon-free future, we're going to need a lot more copper.
Yeah, and these copper miners know that they need these development projects, thus South 32 and your partnership. They've already put in tens of millions of dollars.
Yes.
You got 36 million in the bank.
Yes.
What's the financial future and step forward for the company?
Well, I think the next two big steps right now for the company is, reason the Ambler Mining District, which we own, the Upper Coal Mineral Projects, has not been developed. It's not because it's not economic. It's because it needs infrastructure. It has no infrastructure whatsoever. And the government of Alaska, the Bureau of Land Management, the federal government are working closely together with the Alaska Industrial Development Export Authority to permit and build a road to our project. And we fully expect that the permits for this road to be completed by the end of this year. That's a big catalyst. The other big catalyst for the company is right now, we have an option to form a joint venture with South 32. It's a very large Australian mining company. It's got a $13 billion market capitalization. They like copper. They have no producing copper assets. They like copper a lot. And so the option agreement is they put in $10 million a year for 3 years to keep the option open. They've done that. They put in $30 million. Now they have until the end of January of 2020 to exercise the option. If they do that, they have to put about $150 million into the joint venture, and they receive a 50% interest in our projects. We're fairly confident that they will do that. A great company to work for. They like Alaska, they like copper, and they like the direction that this company's going.
Are there any other catalysts that investors should know about for the company upcoming?
Well, we're right now in the middle of a $18.2 million exploration program. So that includes $9.2 million worth of drilling at Bornite, which is our second project. We're drilling around 10,000 meters, so hopefully in the fall we'll have some results for that. The Arctic project, our flagship project, we're moving that into feasibility now and permitting. So we expect the feasibility study to come out next year, probably the first quarter next year. We'll have the feasibility study done on Arctic, and then we'll start the permitting on Arctic next year as well. So yeah, there's a lot. And then the other thing is, we have 70 miles of contiguous mineralization along the Ambler Mining District. We've never touched it before. We think there's potential for 1 or 2 more Arctics. There's plenty of historical resources in the area, averaging 3% copper equivalent. So we're going to drill some of those other historical areas to show the market that we own a district, not just a mine. And so yeah, we'll have a lot of news going forward this fall.
Considering we're here at the Sprott conference, share with listeners a little bit about Trilogy's relationship with the Sprott Group.
Well, it's interesting. We both have known Rick Rule for quite a while, and we approached. When I came back to Trilogy last year, I said to Rick Van Nieuwenhuizen, "We got to go down to Sprott. This is a story that they'd love, and their clients would love." So, because we're domiciled in we're a U.S. company. We're listed on New York Stock Exchange. We have plenty of cash. And Alaska is just a great place to visit. So, Rick has a relationship with Andrew, with one of their main people, Andrew Jackson, who's one of Rick's chief technical people. And Rick, Andrew Jackson worked at Placer Dome with Rick Van Nieuwenhuizen years ago, and we brought Andrew up to site, and he was very, very impressed with what he saw. So this is I know Sprott's into precious metals, but copper fundamentals are outstanding, and it's something that Sprott recognizes and recognizes that their clients should be involved in.
Yes, and your deposit, the Arctic deposit, does have some precious metals. It's polymetallic, it's copper dominant, but it also has zinc, lead, and cobalt.
Sure, yeah.
How do the price of these commodities affect your share price?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 60% of our revenues will be copper. About 30-40% will be zinc. So there's a big zinc component to it. And zinc fundamentals are very strong as well. In the last 5 years, we've seen 2 of the 3 largest zinc mines in the world shut down. And zinc, you need zinc for everything. Zinc is a galvanizer, so you use it for automobiles. It's a rust inhibitor. And you use it on bridges, you use it on highways, you use it on automobiles. And we're just not seeing enough zinc. And then obviously about 12% of our revenues are precious metals. So, you know, specifically gold and silver. We're going to produce, just the Arctic alone will produce 30,000 ounces of gold per year and over 3 million ounces of silver per year. So it's nice that we have these metals that almost hedge each other in a sense. So, so being polymetallic helps us a lot. We're like I said, 6% copper revenues, but nice, good byproduct credits from these other metals.
Your share price has been one of the best performing juniors this year, but in the last month, the share price has been hit a little off about 30% or so. I don't have the chart in front of me, but what's your analysis of that? What's going on here? You
know, we've been on a spectacular run now since the beginning of the year, and I think it just got ahead of itself, and it was just simply someone shorted it, and they picked the summer to do it when things are quiet. And we had some warrants that were being exercised by our top 3 shareholders. They haven't sold a share, and I think they use that as a smokescreen. So I don't get too worried about that. The fundamental value is much higher than where it's at right now. And you know, when you go on a big tear for 6 to 8 months, you're liable to have a correction, and someone took advantage of that. So I don't work. You know, I've been doing this. You know, I've been working in the capital markets for over 10 years now. I've been in the mining industry now for I don't know over 25 years. I've seen it all, and you know, fundamentally the company is very strong. We have lots of cash. I fully expect the road to be permitted. I fully expect the South 32 will exercise the joint venture. So I think it's a great opportunity to buy. Matter of fact, when we had the big pullback, I bought some more shares. I bought about 6,000 shares.
Okay.
I wish I could buy. I wanted to sell my house to buy more. For me, when I saw the pullback, first thing I did was I bought some more.
Yes.
And I'm prepared to buy more if the opportunity presents itself.
Yes. Well, for those that aren't as familiar with Trilogy, go back and listen to my interview with Rick Van Nieuwenhuis, the president, CEO, and founder of Trilogy. That was published, I would say, about 2 months ago. Pat, you're a busy man. There's people all around us. You got other interviews to do, but I appreciate you stopping by my booth and coming on Mining Stock Education today.
Thanks so much, Bill.
Thank you for listening to this Mining Stock Education podcast. Please subscribe and share with like-minded investors. Visit us on the web at MiningStockEducation.com for more resources on precious metals and natural resource investing. At our website, you can also sign up for our free newsletter for interview transcripts, stock picks, and more.